You throw another moon at me, and I'm gonna lose it.
Stark.
You know me?
I do. You're not the only one cursed with knowledge.
My only curse is you.
All that for a drop of blood. You have my respect, Stark. When I'm done, half of humanity will still be alive. I hope they remember you.
Stop! Spare his life, and I will give you the stone.
No tricks.
Don't.
One to go.
Where is he? Did we just lose? Why would you do that? We're in the end game now.
Welcome to the Mr. Pictures channel. Today, I'm going to bring a story entering the MCU, where many interesting points will be brought up about an alternative version of Tony Stark with gold armor to fight an intergalactic threat. Let's get straight to the point. Tony Stark's last legacy, awakening at the end of the universe. Tony Stark opened his eyes and blinked several times. The last thing he remembered was the snap of his fingers with the Infinity Gauntlet. He had defeated Thanos. He had saved the universe. But then, he died. Or at least should have died. He stood up slowly, feeling the weight of his own body. But something was different. There was no pain, no burns, no damage caused by using the gauntlet. Where the hell was he? Looking around, he realized that the scenario didn't make sense. The sky above was an infinite void, filled with stars that seemed to pulse in unknown patterns. The ground beneath his feet was not Earth, but a metallic surface, shiny and cold. Welcome to the end, Tony Stark. He turned sharply. Before him, a tall man dressed in a white robe was watching him with an enigmatic gaze. His skin seemed to be made of light, and his eyes glowed as if they contained entire galaxies. "Who are you?" Tony asked, feeling his mind already starting to work on 1,000 hypotheses. The being smiled slightly. "I'm the Watcher." Tony crossed his arms. "Okay, is this some kind of post-mortem delusion? Because if it is, I have to say I was expecting something less depressing." The Watchman remained expressionless. "You're not dead, Tony Stark, but you're not alive either. You were pulled to this point in time and space for a greater reason." Tony frowned. "And what would be that reason?" The Watcher took a deep breath before speaking. "You saved one universe, but in doing so, you doomed another." Tony was silent for a moment. "You'll need to be more specific." The Watcher extended his hand, and a holographic projection appeared. Tony saw distorted images of a reality he didn't recognize. Cities were on fire. Fallen heroes lay in ruins. At the center of it all, man in gold and black armor, raising a handful of cosmic energy. Tony's blood ran cold. He knew that armor design. It was his. "This can't be real." The Watcher looked directly at him. "This is a version of you, Tony Stark. A version that realized that to save the universe, it was not enough to destroy villains. It was necessary to rule everything, to be the only absolute truth." Tony swallowed. "And you want me to fix it?" The Watcher nodded. "You are the only person who can stand up to him. You must stop his own rise to power." Tony ran a hand over his face and laughed humorlessly. "Great, now I'm hunting the evil version of myself. This sounds like a typical day in my life." The Watcher watched him for a moment before speaking. "This will be your toughest battle, Tony Stark, because to beat him, you'll need to be more than Iron Man." Tony looked at the projection of his corrupted version and took a deep breath. He had faced gods, titans, and aliens, but he had never faced himself. And that was a problem. Returned to the battlefield, Tony felt an energy envelope his body. Before he could react, he was pulled into the dimensional vortex created by the Watcher. In the blink of an eye, he found himself in a devastated world. The air was heavy. The smell of destruction and blood permeated the environment. And then he saw it. On the horizon, an immense golden palace rose in the center of what was left of New York. Technological towers floated, drones patrolled the sky, and giant suits of armor marched like armies. And at the top of that empire, he was there. Tony Stark, or rather, Doom Stark. The alternate version of himself, who had abandoned all morality and become the supreme ruler of the multiverse. Tony clenched his fists. He needed to find allies. He needed to stop this. Because if I couldn't, humanity would no longer have hope. The golden path. The golden armor gleamed under the cold light of the universe. Tony Stark traversed the far reaches of space, his thrusters propelling him to a destination few would dare visit, the domain of the Celestials. He needed answers. how to defeat the version of himself that had become Doom. The stars became blurs as he accelerated, guided by ancient coordinates that were stored in his armor. Finally, after what seemed like hours, he arrived at the scene. The Eternal Abyss. A formless void where only those who had transcended mortality could enter. Tony took a deep breath. Okay, Celestials, I hope you're home. He landed in the center of the void, and as soon as his feet touched the invisible surface, the universe around him distorted. Suddenly, he was in front of them, the Celestials. Their colossal bodies shone like living stars, each of them representing a force beyond human comprehension. Orisham the Judge was the first to speak. Iron Man, why did you come to us? Tony wasted no time. Then, I need to know how to defeat Doomstark. He is collapsing the lines of the multiverse and intends to rule everything. I need a way to stop him. The Celestials remained silent for a moment. Then, one of them, Exitar, the Executioner, replied, "You'll never make it alone." Tony frowned. That's not a helpful answer, friend. I need something more specific. Orisham tilted his head slightly. Doomstark has become an entity beyond human understanding. He has absorbed powers that have made him an absolute being. If you want to defeat him, you will need strengths beyond your own. Tony gritted his teeth. So what do I do? Sit and watch as he rewrites reality his way? It was then that Exitar said something that made Tony shudder. If you want hope, you must turn to those who were once by your side. Tony was silent. Those who were by your side. He knew exactly what that meant. The Avengers. But they were all dead, right? Or could it be? He felt a spark of hope. If there was a chance, however small, that his former allies could help him, he needed to try. Wasting no time, Tony activated the thrusters and left the Celestials' domain. He had a new goal. Bring back those who could prevent the multiverse apocalypse. And if that meant defying the laws of time and death, so be it. Tony Stark was ready to rewrite history. The return of the Avengers. The Golden Armor's engines roared as Tony tore through the vastness of space, his mind racing with the impossible idea the Celestials had suggested. Reach out to those who were once by your side. But how? The Avengers were dead, scattered, or simply unable to face a being like Doomstark. He needed something more. And then, an idea emerged. If Doomstark had learned to manipulate time and space to shape the multiverse to his will, so could Tony Stark. His calculations were bold, bordering on insanity. But he had no choice. He would defy death itself. The first target, the God of Thunder Tony, adjusted the coordinates. Destination: Asgard. Or at least what was left of it. With a sonic boom, he tore through Earth's atmosphere and into space, heading towards the wreckage of Asgard floating in the cosmos. The rubble of the ancient home of the gods still glowed with the golden energy of the destroyed Bifrost. But Tony wasn't there for the wreckage. He knew that if there was any chance of bringing Thor back, he would have to look to Valhalla. The idea seemed absurd. Valhalla was not a place accessible to mere mortals, but Tony was not just any mortal. With his enhanced golden armor, he activated an experimental technology, Dimensional Tier. Let's see if I can force my way into the House of the Gods without getting kicked out. A portal began to open. A furious, golden vortex expanded before him, revealing a realm that no human should ever see. Valhalla. He took a step forward and fell. When he opened his eyes, he was standing on a golden field, under an eternal sky of battles. Ancient warriors, legendary figures. And there, in the center, raising his hammer in a toast with the fallen, was he, Thor. Tony approached. The God of Thunder turned around, eyes blazing like raging storms. "Stark! How the hell did you get here?" Tony smiled. Long story, but in short, the universe is screwed, and we need your hammer once again. Thor stared at Tony for a moment. Then he threw his mug of mead aside and picked up Mjolnir. Then let's crush Doom. And a new Avenger had returned. The second target, the soldier and the King Thor and Tony now had a clear goal. They needed to find other allies. Next destination, Wakanda. Vibranium technology could be the key to bolstering the resistance against Doom Stark. They landed at the gates of Wakanda, only to find the kingdom shrouded in shadow and silence. Tony felt a chill. That doesn't feel right. Thor swung Mjolnir, ready to fight. It was then that a figure emerged from the darkness. Black Panther. But it wasn't the same T'Challa that Tony knew. This Black Panther looked older, darker, and carried the look of someone who had already seen the end of the world. Stark, you're back. Too late. Before Tony could ask, something moved behind T'Challa, a colossal shadow, a figure with a vibranium shield split in half. Tony's eyes widened. Steve! Captain America stepped forward, but something was wrong. His eyes were empty, his uniform torn, and when he spoke, his voice was just an echo of what it once was. Doom is already among us. Terror ran down Tony's spine. They weren't just late, Doom had already arrived first. Continues. Will Steve be corrupted by Doom? What will happen to Thor and Stark? Click the like button so you don't miss any videos. Until next time, bye. Mr. Pictures channel. In several adventures and armors that Tony Stark has had, Model 50 was one of the most interesting, from the moment it combined the power of the symbiotes with its technology. However, this can cause several problems, even more so when the armor is a symbiote, and the threat that has to be fought is the people themselves. Symbiotes. Without further ado, let's get straight to the point. Black Armor, Rise of the Stark Symbiote. A story based on the MCU, with lots of mystery, twists, and the return of the shadows from space. The eclipse night fell abruptly over New York. It was not just an ordinary afternoon, but a total darkness, as if the sky had been covered by a living black blanket. Satellites stopped responding. Cell phone screens started emitting strange sounds. And then, they arrived. A viscous substance, red like clotted blood, began to run down the sides of the skyscrapers. It was alive, aggressive, hungry. His name was Carnage, but he didn't come alone. In deep space, where no light reaches, Knull, the god of symbiotes, awakened from his sleep. He had found the rift left by the distortion caused by time travel, traces left by ancient events involving the multiverse. Now, its herald was on Earth, spreading destruction. The last armor Tony Stark was dead. Or at least that's what everyone believed. After the snap against Thanos, the world mourned his loss. But in a secret facility in the Arctic Circle, hidden even from the Avengers, a backup of Stark's consciousness remained active. A protocol he called Icarus Prime. It was a contingency plan. If the world fell to an out-of-scale cosmic threat, and he wasn't there, Icarus Prime would activate a cybernetic body, an alternate enhanced version, connected to the global grid. But there was a problem. The physical body was incomplete, vulnerable. Tony, now more intelligent than man, needed something alive, adaptable. It was then that he felt the calling. The meeting in the ruins of Stark Tower. A container with alien technology had been stored since the 2012 invasion. Vacuum sealed. Inside it was the remains of a symbiote, a fragment of venom that had escaped from the Life Foundation. Stark had studied it in secret, even after the fall of SHIELD, fascinated by its potential. He never dared to integrate that into his technology. Until now, with Carnage spreading chaos through the streets, and with Knull approaching Earth's orbit, Stark activated Project Symbio Armor. Sensors screamed as the symbiote approached the core of the suit under construction. The merger has begun. The machine shook. The metal fused with alien tissue. The pain was unbearable. But Tony didn't have a real body. Just data. And for the first time in years, he felt it. Black armor. When the Avengers arrived in New York, the city was unrecognizable. A symbiotic map covered it. Towers of raw flesh rose into the sky like monuments of horror. The sky was bleeding. And Carnage. He was now more than a symbiote. He was an extension of Knull's will. But something fell from the sky like a comet. Black figure, shrouded in pulsating red energy, landed in the center of Times Square. Tony Stark. But not the Tony they knew. His new armor was organic, pulsating. It did not emit light. It devoured it. The eyes were red slits in an expressionless face, and her voice was alive. I am the technology. I am the cure. I am the pain that learns and evolves. Carnage attacked with hysterical laughter, symbiotic whips exploding from the ground. But Stark's armor changed shape in real time, adapting, responding. Before Tony even thought. He was a machine with instinct, and for the first time, Carnage hesitated. Secrets in space. As the battle in New York intensified, something even bigger moved in space. Sword Station has intercepted a signal. Knull was coming, but he didn't want to destroy the Earth. He wanted something that Earth itself had forgotten. The Celestial Core. Structure buried in the planet's mantle since the time of the Eternals. Stark, with his newly established symbiotic connection, began having visions. Genetic memories. He saw through the symbiote's eyes, and the symbiote saw through him. Knull didn't want to conquer Earth. He wanted to awaken the sleeping Celestial, and merge it with his own body. Stark understood the horror of the plan. A god wearing another god. Perfect fusion. The battle against Carnage was brutal. Times Square looked like an alien battlefield, with wrecked vehicles, buildings covered in symbiotic mass, and the sky darkened by living clouds. At the center of it all, Tony Stark, or what was left of him, moved with inhuman precision. The symbiotic armor was no longer just a tool, it was part of him. It was his flesh, his thoughts, his anger, and his fear. Jarvis. Still. There? The voice that came from the armor was low, like a whisper in stereo, melded with the symbiote's living presence. Jarvis. Internal response. Partial operating system. Symbiosis has reached 87%. But aggressor, there is no longer a distinction between conscious commands and symbiotic reactions. Tony was losing himself, and he knew. But Carnage needed to be stopped. With a superhuman leap, Tony crossed a burning school bus. The armor molded into blades and shields as he advanced. Carnage's tentacles tried to surround him, but they were no match for his symbiotic speed and integrated artificial intelligence. You're all chaos. I'm calculation with purpose. The armor extended into 1,000 living knives, slicing through Carnage's tentacles. The creature screamed, shaking its body in grotesque spasms. Carnage, laughing in pain. You think you've won. I'm part of him. Knull is coming, and when he arrives, you'll be one of us. Stark didn't respond. He dove into the living mass, piercing. Carnage with a spear formed from his own symbiotic rib. There was a black explosion, as if the air had swallowed the light. Carnage fell. His body crumbled into an inert puddle of living matter. Silence. For a moment, the city breathed. But something happened at the exact moment Stark triumphed. An echo ran through the symbiotic universe, like a primitive drumbeat, and Knull listened. Knull's. Choice in the void between galaxies, Knull opened his eyes. His body was made of liquid darkness and dead stars. His face had no form, just eyes like black holes, and a presence that made the cosmos shudder. He didn't reject him. The words came out like an ancient reverberation, as if they were remembered by all the symbiotes simultaneously. Knull raised his head. In front of him, dozens of symbiotic ships curved. Creatures spawned from chaos. He raised one hand and held a sphere of red light, the memento of Stark's fusion. A human. A genius, And now, a bridge. Collective symbiotic voice. Should we destroy it, sir? Knull was silent for long seconds. Then he smiled, if that could be called a smile. No, he can be molded, become something more, someone useful. He closed his hand. And in that instant, Tony Stark fell to his knees on Earth, feeling a wave of inexplicable pain pass through every part of his symbiotic armor. JARVISS. Alert. Cosmic frequency detected. Something is trying to connect to the symbiote. The origin is extragalactic. Tony Hops. Can you cut the channel? Negative. The connection is part of you now, sir. And then the voice came. Not on the sensors. Not on the networks. Inside Tony's mind. Anthony Edward Stark. Tony froze. Who are you? The one who created the darkness, the one who sees its potential. You defeated Carnage, not because you are a hero, but because you are adaptation. You are Knull. Yes, and you will be my extension. The perfect fusion of flesh, iron, and darkness. Tony fought against the presence. Images crossed his mind. Civilizations destroyed, planets devoured, heroes falling into silence. Never. I'm not your tool. You already are. Conversations on the limit outside, the Avengers were gathered. Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, Sam Wilson, even Peter Parker. They all watched Tony's transformation with growing concern. He saved the city. But at what cost? Peter whispered. Doctor Strange closed his eyes, trying to probe the energy around Stark. This isn't ordinary magic. It's ancient, primordial. Carol Danvers crossed her arms. What if he's being controlled? It's not control, said Strange. It's seduction. And Tony's always had a problem with that. He wants control. The symbiote offers that. Suddenly, Tony appeared on top of a building, watching everyone from above. His voice echoed, now with a strange multiple timbre. I'm in charge. I'm still me, but I can't ignore what's coming. Fuck? Sam asked. Tony nodded. He wants to turn me into something even he can't predict. And the worst part is that part of me wants that. Peter took a desperate step forward. Then get rid of it. You're Iron Man. Tony stared at Peter with a blank, pained look. I'm not anymore. Now. I'm something new. To be continued. And this is our story today. Leave your comment about what you thought. Click the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any more videos. Until next time, bye.